Hey, what's up everybody? I really hope you enjoyed this video. It's based on a lot of research I've done over the past several years, reading a lot of really good stuff, watching a lot of good videos, and trying to understand what it is that creates back pain. Um, a couple of things. If you don't have an injury, then a lot of times it boils down to either there's some weakness there, or there's some range of motion problems. In which case we're talking about either strengthening or stretching. So I hope you really like this video. It takes about 15 minutes. You want to go at a pace that's comfortable for you in the beginning. Don't push it too hard. Do the best that you can. If you want to just spend 5 minutes, do that. If you want to spend 20, also you don't want to try to make a workout out of it. It's not really for that. It's a gentle stretching and strengthening program or routine that again is 10 to 20 minutes, typically about 15 minutes. Really good for the morning time. And I think you'll really notice a difference after only one day, but certainly after 2 or 3 days of doing this. And you could work it in every other day. This is good if even if you're an athlete, and it's definitely good if you're, um, trying to get back into shape or you're working out infrequently, and especially if you're spending a lot of time in an office or sitting down a lot, driving, commuting, this kind of thing. So let me know what you think. Like this video on Facebook, share it, and keep me posted. First, we start off with quadruped circles. And this is a way of sort of circling the shoulders and the hips and the spine, and starting to wake up the spine. It's a very gentle type of movement on the ground. You're close to the ground. You can imagine that you're just trying to wake the body up a little bit. A lot of breathing, going right into child pose, stretching the back, stretching the arms, stretching the toes and the ankles a bit, limbering up the shoulders. I'm going to spend anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds on each pose, each stretch and movement. And into the traditional downward dog, I start by stretching the back of my knees, my calves, ankles. That's what this initial part is. You want to keep the lower back fairly straight and try to extend the shoulders behind the head as much as possible. Keep the neck neutral so you're not straining your neck, and it's doing the best that you can with that movement. Next, I'm stretching my ankles. This is a preparation for a squat. I realize a lot of people have trouble even going into a full flat-footed squat, and that's okay, but you want to continue to work on stretching the ankles. This is one of the big obstacles to getting into the squat, along with hip mobility. Then after the ankle stretching, go into the squat hold, and again doing the best you can. If you want to hold on to something in front of you, that's totally acceptable. The point is to work more and more into getting into that squat position. And from there, moving into a standing bend. So from whatever squat position you're into, keeping the back, especially lower back, fairly straight, you're sort of hinging the knees and going into a standing bent position. Next, Hindu squats. Again, you may need to hold on to a table or something in front of you. The Hindu squat is good at getting blood moving into the legs. Obviously, if you have knee issues, you want to take it easy.
the side-to-side plank walks, holding a plank best you can from outstretched arms, and then moving side to side. The arms can cross over or under as you need to. Usually go out and back twice on this exercise. Keep the butt fairly neutral. Don't stick it out too high or don't sag. Into side planks. Make sure you have sufficient shoulder stability for this. You may have to start on your elbow instead of your hand. The key is to the key of this exercise is keeping the body pretty straight. Don't let the hips sag down to the ground. And working the other side, of course. Then going into the kneeling psoas stretch, you want to make sure your hips are forward a bit, so you're not arching your lower back. I'm always sort of coming back to this concept over and over again. If you're arching your lower back, you're not going to get a lot of the benefits from this exercise. You should really feel a deep stretch below your navel, inside your body, connecting down to your leg, knee, all the way up almost to the abdomen. With the psoas stretch, keep coming back to the flattening the lower back, rotating the hips forward a little bit from the bottom as if you're turning a cup up, not turning a cup out to pour out, if that makes any sense. Eventually, with this stretch, the end goal would be to have the front bent leg completely straight on the ground and your back leg completely straight on the ground as well. But that takes a lot of time. Sometimes you may choose to hold the stretch a little bit longer if you're feeling getting some benefit from that. The 20 seconds may turn into 30 seconds. Next is a stretch for the hamstring. I'm also leaning forward a little bit into sort of a pancake style stretch. But same thing here with the previous exercises and stretches. Try to keep the back straight. Don't round the top of your back. It's gonna, just to touch your chin to your knee or whatever, it's not gonna help you. It's better to stay high and keep the back relatively straight than it is to try to round the back so you can get lower. You need to spend a little bit of time in this stretch to get the benefits from it. Of course, there's the left side and the right side. Throughout all the stretching, I'm using a method called PNF. It's a way of sort of hacking or tricking your body into getting deeper into a stretch. I'll talk some more about this later, but the PNF method involves going into a stretch and feeling the resistance where you're sort of at the limits of your range of motion, and then instead of relaxing, you're engaging your muscles. In the first case, you're engaging your muscles to sort of prevent from going yourself from going deeper into the stretch, if that makes sense. And you use about 5 to 10 seconds of a hold. Then you relax for at least 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. And then you engage your muscles again in the opposite direction to actually assist in achieving the range of motion that you want. And then you relax. And you can do this twice. It's not much more effective than doing about twice, but this method is extremely effective at increasing your range of motion. I spent many years doing what we call split stretch and didn't really get anywhere with it until I learned PNF method. You can search that. PNF method will allow you to achieve some really amazing range of motion. I got to, just for a few weeks of using the PNF method, I was able to touch my chest to the floor in a split, and I couldn't do that after practicing for 20 years, not really knowing what I was doing with stretching. Next stretch movement is the Cobra. Now, the Cobra, same thing. With some of the other exercises, try to keep that lower back flat. The goal, one of the goals on the Cobra is to obtain arch in the thoracic, more of the upper back, not in the lower back. This is sort of where you might be having pain, is in the lower back. So you don't want to bending the spine backwards that way. Cobra, you're using your muscles to keep the lower back flat and then bending your upper back, stretching it out a little bit as you need. And throughout this whole movement sequence, breathe and move as you feel you need to, and take your time. Not something you want to rush through. Sort of adjusting my hips, making sure my lower back is fairly flat. This kind of a foundational back strengthening. Weight should be as far back as you possibly can until you're almost falling backwards. Don't put your weight into your toes and the top of your foot. Keep the neck neutral. Don't look down. Don't look up. Keep your arms straight. Sitting down, sitting back. You should feel the lower back muscles working. That will mean that you doing this exercise, the strengthening exercise, correctly. Just relaxing a little bit here, touching my toes. If you need to bend your knees, it's totally fine. Go for whatever hold you can. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20. Probably 20 to 30 is the max. And then going into it a second time. Straightening my arms, trying to get them as high as I can. Keeping my back straight and braced. Very important that you're bracing the back, especially the lower back, throughout this movement. The weight is always back. Weight in the heels. Never in the toes or the top of the foot in this exercise. Up again. You can opt to just take a couple breaths in this movement and then do it a few times rather than trying to hold it longer all at once. It's advisable to do a psoas stretch after this. You could do that standing, or you could do the knee psoas stretch kneeling, as we did earlier, for a few seconds. Cross arm and leg lifts. Important thing here is to try to keep the spine relatively straight and centered. I'm trying not to rotate my body. I'm trying not to rotate around my spine, if that makes any sense. You can also rotate the legs and arms, make small circles with your arms and legs if you want, like I'm doing here, to make it a little bit harder. And then onto hollow body holds. This is a staple in the gymnastics world. What I'm doing here is preparing my lower back to be flat. So you see, I took the the arch completely out of my lower back. So I flattened it so there's no air space underneath my lower back. And my arms are straight as I can get them, pushing my feet together, touching my toes and pressing toes together, straightening my legs and relaxing. If you need to lift your legs higher, even if you need to bend your knees, you can do that to make this a little bit easier. Going straight into hollow body hold, depending on your fitness level, can be challenging. Gymnasts can easily hold these for minutes at a time, multiple repetitions. Most normal people like myself, a minute can be a struggle, certainly to do it in 5 reps for 1 minute. So I'll shoot for about 20 to 30 seconds, do a couple repetitions. You have a lot of time to work up to longer hold times. Don't try to rush into it. Taking some moments to breathe and rest. Always coming back to breathing. A good friend of mine once told me that yoga is just an excuse to move, and movement is just an excuse to breathe. Now the next movement is similar to Cobra, but it's a Cobra foundational. So before it was a little bit more of a stretch. This is really strengthening and working those lower back muscles again, keeping the lower back straight, arching the upper back as much as I can. Again, upper back arching, not trying to put an arch into a lower back. And it's work. This is a tough movement. You really want to feel that you're working those spinal erectors, those 2 snake-like muscles that go down either side of your spine. That's why I'm not using my hands to push off the ground. If you need use a little assist. If it's difficult, then of course start off easy and work your way up. Eventually you can put the arms straight out over your head if you need it to be more difficult. And then resting and breathing. And moving on to some hanging exercise. Here I'm just hanging from a bar that I made in my garage. You can use gymnastics rings. You can use a rope if you want to. Bar is great. It's a little more stable. Swinging around a little bit side to side, moving the shoulders. It's just allowing your body to, your tendons to stretch out a little bit along from your wrists all the way down to your legs. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. Go much longer if you want to, if it feels comfortable. And finishing up lastly with an exercise called the Jefferson curl. This is done by a lot of people with a weight. And yes, you are curling and rounding the back. That's the whole point. The idea is to put the spine through its full range of motion. Now, this can be not recommended for some people. Of course, if you have injuries and whatnot, you need to obviously talk to your doctor about it. But for a lot of people, this is an excellent way to bring the spine through its full range of motion. And starting with my head, and one by one, each vertebrae, like a string of pearls, attempting to curl down one by one by one, all the way down to my lower back. And this is a work in progress. Always trying to make it smoother, better quality movement each time you do every exercise and stretch, taking your time.